Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Metanoia Effect. I am one of your co-hosts, Portia Booker, and I missed all of you guys last week. I was taking a drone certification class, so I have to still take my test, but let's just say there was a lot crammed into the 3 days that I was away. It was a full 10 to 5 day. I don't know, Dawn and Robert, it's probably been a while since both of you have had one of those days, like a 9 to 5, 10 to 5 day of a 30-minute break or 30-minute lunch, 15-minute, 2 15-minute breaks. I was exhausted because I haven't had that kind of day since 2021, but it was a lot. Learning all of the safety precautions when it comes to flying a drone, all the different types and classifications of drones, when you can and cannot fly them, reading a meter report, the list goes on. I'm not going to go too far into that because probably both of you are like, what is she talking about? The one thing that came up was, can you fly drones over people? And the answer is no. The answer is no. You cannot fly drones over people. So those of you who are flying them over people without your license, you better be careful. So today we're going to talk about chosen. And the reason I picked this topic is because Dawn and I often have this conversation about whether people are chosen for certain things or not. And in my book, to me, I believe that some of us have been chosen for harder tasks than others. And also when it comes to empathy. You know, I've had a lot of different people on my social media that have had different transitions in their life, whether it's physical transitions, loss of family members, pets, the long gamut. And what I find is that there's often this question of why. Why were they chosen for this path and I was not? So I don't know, Dawn and Robert, either one of you want to bring up something before we dive into the questions for today?
Yes, I will.
Go ahead, Robert.
Okay, yeah, I can. So I don't know if I've shared this with during any of our single or panel episodes, but I have a slide here that I keep handy. This is actually a quote from my book that says, "You weren't born to simply exist and then die. Each one of us were born with a unique skill set, with a unique perspective on life, and without interference from others, we would naturally become who we were meant to be." So I think that flows perfectly into what today's discussion is all about. So can't wait to get into it.
Love it.
Dawn, do you want to add something? I wasn't sure if you wanted to add anything before we jump to the questions.
No, I just love that quote, and I believe that myself. So let's jump into the questions.
All right.
Okay, question number one.
So our first question is, are we all, quote unquote, chosen or called for something, or does purpose emerge from the choices we make when life presents us with an opportunity? Who wants to start? Dawn, Robert, do you want me to start?
I will start, and I'll use the gym as an example. So when people come into the gym, people have different strengths, people have different weaknesses. Like not everybody is 100% the same. And we get stuck on other people's strengths versus our own weaknesses instead of looking into what our strengths are. And for example, I spoke at a middle school. They were the behavioral kids. And they told me to worry about this one kid. I'm like, how old's this kid? 11, 12? I'm like, I'm not worrying about a 12-year-old. And they're like, oh, well, he's a handful and he's this and he's got a bad attitude and he's all that. And so I asked for that kid to be put into my group once we split off. 'Cause like there were several other mentors there. And so in talking with him, I was like, this kid just doesn't like to be told what to do. Right. So rather than try to force him to be told what to do, I gave him responsibility. I said, hey, I want you to take the lead with these two in this next activity. And he totally shined. You know, when we were doing things on the board, I asked the director to select him to write the things on the board. Right. And he didn't give any issues. When we broke off into sports, I was captain of one basketball team. I made him the captain of the other basketball team. And he put people into positions. He was calling plays. And I played into his strengths instead of picking on his weaknesses. Right. So I told the director at the end, I was like, instead of warning people how bad this kid is, make him your assistant. Like he wants to lead. He wants responsibility. But instead of elevating his strength, and this is society as a whole, is we judge people by their weaknesses, and then they end up forgetting the strength that they have.
I love that story. That's
Go ahead,
exactly. So my storage on my phone was like at full capacity. So I've been going through like old videos and old photos, removing things over the last couple of weeks. And I found a video of the last time I was in Uganda. And the video was me talking to a group of girls, like over 100 girls. And I say the same thing to all of the children everywhere I go when I'm in Africa, or anywhere really. But I was telling them that they have something unique to them that only they can bring to the world in their own unique and special way. And I love being able to plant that seed. I truly believe we all have our strengths and our weaknesses. And we, if somebody's never planted that seed in a young child's mind, like you are special and you have something that only you can do in the way that you do it, that's your purpose. And so Portia and I talk about like being chosen, not being chosen. I think we're all chosen to do what we were specifically called here to do. And we'll find those things by the things that we love, the things that make us excited, the things that light us up. So I love talking about purpose because you will naturally find, like Robert loves the gym. I do not. So being in the gym is not my strength. But you love that. And that's part of your purpose, right? We all have those things that light us up, those are like little hints or little puzzle pieces to what we're here to do.
So Dawn, wait, you mean to tell me that if Robert hid your passwords in the gym, you won't go on a scavenger hunt to find them? No. Okay.
No.
I just had to throw that in there because immediately when you said Robert loves the gym and you don't, I'm like, oh, you left the door open for me, Dawn. So I had to jump on it.
Wait, I have to share this because I just said
Go
this
ahead.
to my it's a meme and it says, I didn't have time to jog this morning. And she says, but my dear, you say that every day. I know it's a running joke.
That's great. I mean, hey, no pun. It reminds me of the old saying of what is your refrigerator running? Then you better go catch it type of thing. That's what y'all remember that joke. That was old. I remember that from like middle school. But to tag on what both you and Robert have said, Dawn, about children and how it starts young, focusing on their weaknesses. I think I've shared this before about when I was in middle school. I had a teacher who said that only people with A's would be successful. And Dawn, you remember this story. And I'll be honest, that phrase hindered me for a period of time because there was that notion of we're judging intelligence by a grading system and memorization over intelligence by your gifts. And Dawn, you might remember this too, it was after my mom transitioned. I was studying to actually go into being a pastor for a period of time. And shout out to Pastor Andre Hunter, miss you and love you. I was studying under him. And one of the things that he asked me when I was interested in pursuing ministry was, what are my gifts? What calling do I want to pursue in ministry? Because not everybody who's called to ministry is called to the pulpit. And that sat with me because I said, yeah, you're right. Not everybody is called to the pulpit when it comes to their ministry, when it comes to nurturing their gifts. And the other thing, Robert, you kind of reminded me of a moment when I was at Kent State speaking to students about my journalism career. And there was a young man who raised his hand and asked me, how can he begin to share his story? And immediately my brain started lighting up because he shared that he suffers from some type of mental health related condition. And I forget what it's called. It was something that I didn't know anything about. And I said to him, I'm like, instead of you calling it a disorder, I'm like, this is something unique to you. I said, you can educate me on what a typical day looks like for you. Is it hard for you to get out of bed some days because mentally you're just exhausted 4 to 5 days out of the week, right? Do you struggle with being social because you fear that other people won't understand you based on the things they can't see? I said, so that's your door opening right there. That's your gift to help other people to see things from your different lens. And that's what you were chosen to do.
I love that.
Yes, because people let what they go through become their identity. I'm not going to go into the whole thing again, because I know I've shared this with both of you before about the young kid that I worked with, or the young man that I worked with who was going to college in Florida, and he has dyslexia, but he kept saying, "I'm dyslexic." It's like, no, you have something called dyslexia, but that's not who you are. And I had to separate him from that, because he was using that as a crutch as to why he couldn't get internships and why he couldn't get jobs. And people do that in life. Like, I spoke with a woman that I met at an event last year, where she pretty much, part of her introduction, she said, "I'm a stage 4 cancer survivor." And I was like, "No, you're not. You're just a survivor." And she kind of got offended at first when I gave her that truth. I'm like, why are you putting that label on yourself? It's like, "I'm not high. I'm Rob Foster. I just had a full knee replacement." Right? People don't need to know what it is that you've been through. You should be, "Hi, my name is so and so. I like obstacle course races," and you just present who you are. Like, this illness, this disability, this thing doesn't become your identity. That, to Portia's point, you have to get up and face life differently than someone else does, and share that journey. So now someone who's moping around because they broke their iPhone, they can hear what you have to go through on a day-to-day basis, and give them a different perspective in their own life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 100%. I think too, Robert, I kind of laughed a little bit in my head when you talked about how people like to put a lot of emphasis on the things that they've been through. I'm a cancer survivor. I survived breaking my tendon, all these different things for kind of a sense of validation. But at the end of the day, I think they forget about the journey, right? The journey of, you're on the other side now. Yeah, that was a part of your story, but it's not your own nail to your cross type of thing. It's what you use to showcase and give other people that permission to share their story. I always say, Robert, the worst part of you is the best part of you, is what I always say to everybody and all my clients.
Yeah, yeah, and like, when I talk about being told that I'd never run a jump again, like, it's not about me defying the odds. It's about that person that was told they weren't good enough, or they'd never amount to anything, or that they were useless. Like, those are somebody else's words. Those are somebody else's opinions. Like, those don't have to be your reality. So it's like, I share that. Like me, I know whatever I go through, I'm bouncing back from it. I know at some point Father Time's coming for me, but anything that I can handle on this earth, I'm gonna get to the other side of it. So, like, I share my journeys from everything that I've been through, just to let that person who's stuck know, just because the doctor said you wouldn't run again doesn't mean you're never gonna run again. That's between you and your body. Right? Your brain and your body are gonna decide how you come back from this, and whatever you feed your brain, the body's gonna respond accordingly.
And that's where choice comes in.
Yep.
All right. Anything else you want to add, Dawn, before we jump to the next question?
Oh, I think we're good on that one.
All right. Next question. When life begins redirecting you, and as I brought up in the beginning about different transitions I've seen on my social media amongst some of my friends, how do you distinguish a genuine sign, confirmation, or intuition from simply seeing what you want to see?
Go ahead, Dawn. You can start us off, unless you're not ready.
No, I think, well, first of all, surrendering and just believing that things are happening for you, not to you. I believe that everything we see is a sign or a synchronicity or a confirmation. I mean, Robert and we did our show last week without you. Unfortunately, it was sad that you weren't here, but we knew you were fabulous. But as soon as we finished and we were talking about, like, things coming into your life at the right time, connections, all those kind of things. I literally opened up my notifications and there was a LinkedIn article confirming the conversation that we had just had. And I was like, okay, you know what? It was just like kind of like an exclamation point on the discussion we had. So I just think being open to things happening for you, and again, when you do have that little sneaking suspicion, follow it, because that's your gut telling you something. And it usually always works out for me. Yeah.
Has either of you watched any brain games videos?
Mm-mm.
No, you gotta go to YouTube and just put in brain games. It's amazing how the human brain works. So there's one in particular that stood out. There was a stage of actors, and the prompt was to look for something specific, right? So as you're looking at the screen, you're looking for this something specific. Everybody missed a big man in a cat suit walk across the stage. Not one person saw it until it pointed it out, and then you watch it again, and there's like, holy crap, like, how did I miss that? Right? Because you were so zeroed in on one thing. So how is this relevant? It's similar to what I said a minute ago, is people focus on the struggles that they miss the opportunities. And without going into the entire thing, like when I hit those struggles a few years ago, in the beginning, I was focused on the struggles. And I was beating myself up. I was blaming other people, pointing fingers, and wasn't taking any accountability. I just went into this dark place. But for me, the redirection happened when I started coaching again. And I know I've said this in a couple of episodes, but that was my turning point. Was when I started coaching again, something inside me lit up. And I was like, this is where I belong. And then once I got back on that path, the dark thoughts got less and less and less, and the opportunities started opening up. So I started coaching. I got a new job. I found the gym. I was able to manage a location. Just all the good things were going. I finished my book, restarted my podcast, and just all of the positive things happened. And I always equate it to buying a new car. Right? Once you buy a new car, you see that car everywhere, and nothing's changed. Those cars have always been there, but now you see it. So when you make that redirection, all of those positive things that you're looking for become clear. But that's the thing, is like people are always waiting for a sign. The sign is there. You just have to take your eyes off of your struggles long enough to see it.
Yep. Yep.
And to me, a lot of time, go ahead, Dawn. Yep, go ahead.
I'm just going to say what you were saying about the brain games. That reminded me of something I've seen where it's like, how many red cars did you see driving here today? And if you're not looking for the red cars, you're not going to notice them. But once you're aware of it, you will be able to start seeing those things. So I agree 100% with what you just said.
That's what I thought of, Dawn, was immediately the red car thing, or the notion of the banana peel analogy. That's what I immediately thought of, because in my mind, I always ask for signs from my mom. When things become just chaotic, hot mess express town 2.0, I'm asking my mom for a sign. Ma, give me a sign. I don't understand. And then I look for it. Now, sometimes I question, I'll be honest, sometimes I do question some of the signs that I get, like, okay, is this really what I'm meant to see? But kind of to your point, Dawn, I'm in that same boat of everything has meaning. Everything is there to teach you something. So I'll bring up the story about the week before when we had the smoke here, and Dawn, you're going to laugh about this. So my dog bit a baby skunk 2 weeks ago, and it was early in the morning, 30 in the morning. I take Mr. Fletcher out. He bites his baby skunk. I run in the house. Thank God the skunk, I guess, only sprayed him in the mouth. So he spit it all out in the kitchen. I rush him upstairs, give him a bath. Then the bathtub backs up, right? So I have to get the dog dry, get the bathtub water out, because my brother will be waking up in 2 hours. It's hot as all know what outside. Plus, we've got the smoke coming from Canada, so I can't open the windows to let the skunk smell out. So I've got all these things, right, breaking around me, of course. But at the same time, I still kept a smile on my face. I still kept the gratitude. And I texted Dawn about this. I said, I'm going to look up what the spiritual meaning of a skunk scent being in your house is. And it brought up boundaries, personal boundaries. And there were two situations that I was in that week that tested my personal boundaries. So to your point, Dawn, about the signs and redirection, that week, essentially the struggles I was in opened the door for me to see, hey, you can't keep going this way because it's hurting you. You're not speaking your truth and being assertive about your needs, but you're allowing these things to happen. But here's our sign to you that you can change it. And so now I laugh about it, Robert, about the skunk thing, because it was pretty funny. Because my dog, Mr. Fletcher, he doesn't like big objects. As I brought up in the beginning, he got upset that car drove by him with all those people and he's barking and barking and barking. But he thought he was Billy the Bad because this little baby skunk was in our yard and he thought he could take him out. And no, he got a rude awakening, kind of the Biggie Smalls analogy. He got hit by Smalls with some big punches. So, but to say that the redirection in that week for me was learning to set boundaries and trusting in the signs, even though the signs weren't that favorable. But Dawn, you remember the whole thing with the skunk, not the skunk, but the squirrel in my house that time. Right. Again, it wasn't funny when it happened, but when I thought back to it, that squirrel was a reminder of you need to incorporate more play into your day instead of being a workaholic.
Love it.
All right. Anything else on this question before we jump to our last? I know we'll be wrapping up soon, but
no, that was good.
All right. Good. Avast we go. All right. What happens when the direction you're being called towards requires you to release something that is still working?
Hey, I'll start with this one because it's happening right now in real time. Like you all know, my brand is Shut Up and Grind, right? But I'm shifting gears, not really shifting philosophy, but just shifting terminology into Stop Being Quiet. You know, because it's got more of an appeal. You know, like some people have kind of vilified the term grind. It's like some people get it, but other people are like, oh, grind culture is toxic and this and that. And I don't want the meaning to get lost because of the title. And that's tough because that phrase is near and dear to me. I still use it here in the gym all the time when people are slacking. Like, oh, this hurts or this, that. I'm like, shut up, get it done. Like, just get it done. You know, but as far as helping people overcome their past pain, a lot of people keep that pain inside. So I think Stop Being Quiet will resonate more with that person or someone who's already fearful to speak about things. Now, that doesn't mean my delivery is going to be any different, you know, but just as far as people scrolling the hundreds of self-improvement podcasts or thousands of self-improvement podcasts that are out there, I want something that will speak to them from a place of safety, you know, not like you're going to be just thrown into the fire. And another pivot I'm making also is switching into mental performance for track and field athletes. Because I know when you get into the speaking world, that it's good to have a solid, broad, dialed in niche. Like, you know, want a nice specific niche. And especially here in Rhode Island, there's basketball schools and there's soccer schools and there's volleyball camps. There's really nothing for track and field athletes. So we're going to work on co-branding the gym as Rhode Island's only track and field training center. You know, so like doing what we're doing now is currently working, but we have a chance to tap into something that's really untapped here. And again, it doesn't really change our philosophy. It's just changing who we serve.
Yeah. Love that, Robert. Congrats. Yeah. Stop being quiet. I agree. Because, I mean, you're right. That word grind has a lot of negative stigma around it because it essentially perpetuates hustle culture. And a lot of people have an issue with hustle culture. Of course, when we're first starting out anything, that's what you're doing. But once you find your niche and you find your footing and your likes and dislikes, then it starts to kind of dissipate. But there's some people that live for that 24/7. So kudos to you, Robert. Dawn, you want to answer next or you want me to go?
I'll go, I think. When, Robert and I talked about this on our last episode where, like, I was forced to pivot because a platform stopped working and I had to like redo and revamp everything. But when it's still working, I don't know about that.
Okay.
I think that like we're always being like, our intuition again gives us these little pieces and these little hints and these little ideas and things. So I just always try to follow those things, whether it's working or it's not working. But just go with what again, very spiritual, very intuitive in the way that I approach life. And I've gotten better at that as I've gotten older, because I'm a Virgo and I'm a firstborn, so I always used to everything has to be X, Y, and Z. And now I'm like, nah, I'm very with the flow, and everything like works much better that way in my life.
I like that, Dawn. I do. And I think it's an interesting question even for me, because there's a lot of pieces moving in my life. And one of the things I immediately think about is with Grew with Portia, where, to my audience who's tuning in, I will be switching to a live model starting in August. And even though, yes, that is going to be the direction I've always wanted to, but I'm stopping the recorded segments of it where it's just one and done. But also, to add to that, one of the things that I've been really wanting to do is my grief work in the way that I've been wanting to do it, because I've been hosting in grief groups at a local agency, but I found that it's not serving me anymore. It's not giving me that fulfillment that I would like for the people who I work with who are grieving. So that chapter closed about a year ago, but now I'm actually working towards opening it back up with my own vision.
Like that. Yeah, like one message that people need to understand is that there's always a way. Like no matter what it is that you're going through, there is some lesson in there. And once we remove ourselves from the problem, now it can turn into a purpose. For example, again, going back to my sister, one of my sisters, she had a brain aneurysm burst in 2016. And originally we were told there's about a 20% survival rate. And the way my family is wired, we're all like, we got this. We're going to be in that 20%. Like 20% means that people get through this. And we just flooded her, because now she was in a coma at this point, but we flooded her with positivity. I was like, because one day I was there with her, the nurse comes in, and I was like, can she hear us? And she's like, let's find out. So she goes in and she's like, Ramona. She's like, can you hear us? She's like, give us a thumbs up if you can hear us. Then you can see her hand start to twitch a little, and then she gave us the thumbs up. So the second we knew she could hear, we reading her books, had the television on, her favorite shows. We were playing Smokey Robinson and Mary J. Blige, and we just flooded her with positivity until she eventually opened up her eyes. And I'm not saying that we're the reason why, but going back to the mind controls the body. So we're telling her, you got this, you're going to do this. And we kept her in a familiar situation. We didn't put her into that perpetual state of fear to where her body may have shut down if we did that. So then she opened up her eyes. She had a what do you call it? She had a tracheotomy.
Mm-hmm.
So she couldn't speak. So we got her a whiteboard and a marker. So we could talk to her, and then she would write down her answers. So like there was always a way. So no matter what it is you're going through, there's always a way. And just with Google and everything else out there now, and AI, whatever it is you're looking for, there is an answer out there.
Yeah. And you just go ahead, Dawn.
That's not toxic positivity. That's literally making the best of a situation that you're in, regardless of what that situation is.
Yeah. Finding the gratitude in it. I mean, in the struggle. You pivot your focus for just a second. You know, I had to remind myself of that this weekend. There was something going on, and I said, you know what? I'm going to be present today. I'm not going to focus on all the things going wrong in my life that I have to fix. I'm going to focus on this moment where I'm present. I'm listening to music. I'm with people who I love. And that helps, is to pivot your focus sometimes from all the chaos, because you get to control where your mind goes. And the more that you do that, the more you'll start to see you're able to bounce back quicker. Because that's been my motto, is that gratitude starts my day and ends my day every day.
Yeah, and my thought process too is like, there's somebody who's about to take their last breath who would give anything to have my bad day. Like that's what gets me through like, if it's really that big a deal, you know, it's not. Let's just fix whatever the problem is and then get back on the path to whatever your goals are. It's like when people get a flat tire at 6 o'clock in the morning and like, oh, but this day's shot. You know, it's like, just put the new tire on and move on. Right?
Or their dog.
It's like one.
Their dog
Yeah,
gets,
it's like one moment. Sorry, it's like one bad moment doesn't have to ruin the rest of the day. Go ahead, Dawn.
Oh, I was just saying, or your dog got skunked. Just like
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
I mean, 4 o'clock in the morning. That's what time it started my day. It was 4 a.m.
And you were also getting ready to go somewhere. You had to be somewhere.
Yes.
So that could have set the tone for the rest of your day. And you could have been like, oh, my day's ruined. But instead, you chuckled and you did what you needed to do. And you didn't let it ruin your day.
I didn't. I made it to my conference on time, even though I was sweating like a whore in church, literally, because it was hot. And the minute I get there, the conference was supposed to start at 8. I got there at 7:55, and I walk in, find a seat in the big auditorium, and the conference organizer comes up to the podium and he says, "We're going to run a little bit behind today. We're going to start at 8:20. And I just fell out of my chair. I said, you know what? Thank you. Thank you. I still made it in the nick of time. My day started off rocky, but I'm grateful to be here."
That's awesome. I love it.
Well, everybody, I guess that concludes our conversation today on the Metanoia Effect. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube. And also, we will see you all next week, everyone. Take care now.
And stream.